The curve with equation y equals to a sine bx plus c, where a, b, c are constant, passes through the point. These are the 2 points which are given. So 4 pi comma 11 and negative 4 pi by 3 comma 5. And it is given that a sine bx plus c has a period of 16 pi. And we need to figure out the value of a, b, and c. So the moment that the period is given, the formula which you should get it in mind is, so you should know that period of any sine or a cosine curve. Of course, we are talking about in radians. It has to be period would be equals to 2 pi over the coefficient of x. So in this case, the coefficient of x is b. So 2 pi over b. So using that, so we can easily find out what is the value of b. So period is equals to 2 pi over b. So which means 16 pi is equals to 2 pi over b. So if b goes to that side and 16 pi comes to the left hand side, so that's going to be b is equal to 2 pi over 16 pi. And if I cancel this and simplify it, so I'll be getting the value of b to be 1 over 8. Now, after getting the b value, so all we have to do is we have to substitute these 2 points into the equation to get the value of a and c. First of all, if I substitute this point 4 pi comma 11 with the b value into this equation, so 4 comma 11 means when x is 4 pi, y is 11. So in that case, I'll be getting the equation as 11 is equals to a is unknown into sine of b, we already got it as 1 over 8. So in that case, I'll be getting x over 8 plus c. This would be my first equation. And the second equation would be substituting this minus 4 pi by 3 comma 5. So this means it's 5 is equals to a sine 1 over 8x or x by 8, both are same, plus c. And in order to get the value of a and b, so what I'll do is I have to solve these two equations simultaneously. I'm just going to subtract this so that I can eliminate c. So if I subtract it, so 11 minus 5 has to be 6. And this is going to be, oh, here, one more thing. So in place of x, I can substitute the value. So in place of x, we clearly know it. So this is going to be in place of x, in place of x. So the first one is basically 4 pi. So this is what I can substitute it in place of x. And in the second one, so I can substitute minus 4 pi by 3. So now if I simplify this, so 11 minus 5 is 6. And this is going to be a times sine of 4 pi by 8 is same as just pi by 2. Then minus a into sine of negative 4 pi by 24, or yeah, this 3 will get multiplied here. So 4 pi by 24 or negative pi by 6. And we have to think about using these exact answers. So 6 is equals to 8 times. So the value of sine pi by 2 is 1 minus a sine. So these are the standard angles that you should be aware of. So sine of negative theta is positive sine theta. So I'll be having positive sine of pi by 6. And the value of sine pi by 6 is half. So I'll be having a plus 8 times half is equals to 6. So that's basically 6 is equals to 3 by 2a. So then a would be equals to 2 goes to the other side and it gets multiplied, and 3 would go to the denominator. So it's going to be 6 times 2 over 3. So that gives us the value of a to be 4. Next, in order to get the value of c, so I can substitute this 4 in any one of the equation. So I'm going to substitute it in the first equation. So that's going to be 11 is equals to 4 times sine of 4 pi by 8 is same as pi by 2 plus c, and sine pi by 2 is 1. And this 4 goes to the other side. So it's 11 minus 4 is equals to c. So that's why the value of c is 7. And this is how we have to solve this. So B, we got it at 1 over 8. And the value of A, we got it at 4. And C, we got it at 7. Now, the mark distribution for the sum would go something like this. So getting the value of B correct. So that's going to give us 1 mark. And the next thing is getting these two equations correct. So basically, we are substituting these 2 points and getting these 2 equations. And this carries another mark. And getting the A value correct, we can get 1 more mark. And getting the C value correct gives you the final mark. So this is how the 4 marks would be distributed for this sum. Now, if I talk about part B, using your answers in part A. So in part A, so all we got was, so we got the value of A to be 4 and B to be 1 over 8 and C to be 7. So these are the values that we have gotten it in part A. So using this, find the coordinates of minimum point on the curve. And whenever we talk about a minimum or a maximum point, the one way to do the sum is probably you can think about just graphing it and getting the final answer. And the second way that you can also think about it, you can also think about using calculus. So now what I'm going to do is I'll show you both the ways to do the sum. So first of all, the method one would be graphing it and finding it. And of course, you don't have to draw the exact graph or something. So you have to just think about drawing a rough sketch. So now this positive C represents, that's the principal axis. So the principal axis would be at 7. So that means if this is my x and y axis, so clearly we know this is 0. So the principal axis would be at 7. So let's say this is 7. And the sine curve would always start from 0. So it starts from 0 and it would be like a sinusoidal wave. And the period is given as 16 pi. So that means 0 to at 16 pi. Let's say if 16 pi is here, let's say 16 pi is here. So 8 pi should be somewhere here. And it completes one oscillation within this. So that's what it meant by period. And we know this because A is 4. A represents the amplitude. It goes up till 11 and it would go till 3. So that means the graph would roughly look something like that. So in this case, clearly we can see it. So this would act as 8 pi and this would be at 4 pi, exactly at the middle, and this would be at 12 pi. So that is the reason. And this point would act as a minimum point. So in that case, I can say the minimum point of the graph, it's 12 pi, comma 3. And this is the one way of solving the sum. And how the marks is distributed for the sum is, so figuring out that we solve it using the graph or showing some random graph can give you 1 point. And figuring out at 4 pi, there is a maximum point exists, and at 12 pi, the minimum point exists can give you another mark. And getting the final x coordinate and y coordinate both correct. So getting the x coordinate correct can get us 1 mark, and getting the y coordinate correct can get us another mark. And this is how we solve this. Now, if I talk about another method of solving the sum using calculus. So using calculus means I have to first of all find out the derivative of this function. We know this y is equals to 4 into sine of x by 8 plus 7. So if I find the derivative, so that's basically dy by dx would be equals to differentiation of sine is cos. So it's going to be 4 into cos of x by 8 and multiplied by. So I need to differentiate this inner function as well. So using a chain rule. So differentiation of x over 8 has to be just 1 over 8 and plus differentiation of 7 is 0. And here 4 ones are 4 twos are. And here my dy by dx will be equals to. So it's going to be half into cos of x by 8. And we need to think about finding out all possible answers. So that is what is the stationary point. By equating it to 0, so if half goes to the other side, it becomes 0 itself. So I'll be getting cos of x over 8 as 0. So in that case, x over 8 is equal to cos inverse of 0. So the value of cos inverse of 0 is going to be just 0 radians. So now we should think about finding all possible answers. The first answer is 0 here. And in cos, whenever we are dealing with cos, if the first answer is theta, the second answer should be 2 pi minus theta. So in that case, if the first answer is 0, the second answer should be 2 pi minus 0, which is nothing but just 2 pi. Okay, one small error I have made is, so cos inverse of 0 is not 0. It's basically pi by 2. So these are the two possible answers. So it's pi by 2 is the first answer. The second answer would be 2 pi minus pi by 2, which is 3 pi by 2. And it would go on. And we don't have to find out all possible answers. So then when 8 goes to the other side, so x would be equals to 8 pi over 2. So that's basically 4 pi. And 8 times 3 is 24. So 24 pi by 2 is 12 pi. And the next answer would cross 16 pi. So that's why I stop it. So we have 4 pi and 12 pi. So these are the two possible answers. Now out of them, we need to figure out which one can give us the maximum and which one can give us the minimum point. And in order to do that, there are two ways. One is you can find the second derivative and substitute this point. Or we can simply draw the Sine diagram for dy by dx. So if I think about drawing a Sine diagram for dy by dx, between 0 to 16 pi, I'll be having 4 pi and 12 pi here. So if I take any value between 0 to 2 pi, 0 to 4 pi, let's say I take 2 pi. So if I substitute it in place of x, that 2 pi, so I'll be getting cos of 2 pi by 8, so which is 2 and 2, 2 and 8 can get cancelled out. So cos of pi by 4, it is going to give us some positive result. So that means this is going to be positive. And between this, I can maybe take something like 6 pi. So if I take 6 pi over here, so I'll be getting 3 pi by 4. So 3 pi by 4 lies in the second quadrant. So cos of any value in the second quadrant would be negative, and this would be again positive. So now this clearly shows till this 4 pi, it's an increasing function. Increasing function means the graph would go something like this, and after 4 pi, it's a decreasing function. So this would be my point. And for 12 pi, it's a decreasing function. And after 12 pi, it's an increasing function. So now clearly this shows there is a minimum point. When x is 12 pi, there is a minimum point. So which means what is the corresponding y coordinate? So in order to find the corresponding y coordinate, we substitute the value here. So that's going to be y is equals to 4 into sine of 12 pi by 8 plus 7. And this is going to be sine of 3 pi by 4. 3 pi by 2, sorry. So sine of 3 pi by 2 is -1. So I'll be getting y is equal to 4 times -1 is -4 plus 7, so which is 3. And we got the exact same answer. So x equals to 12 pi and y equals to 3 would be my minimum point. And the mark distribution for this process would go something like this. So figuring out that we should use the calculus and finding out dy by dx and equating it to 0 can get us 1 mark. And finding out the two possible x values can give us another mark. And finding out the final minimum point, the x coordinate of the minimum point gives you 1 mark, and the y coordinate of the minimum point can give us another mark. So this is how the distribution for this question would go like.